Good evening, folks. Welcome to another midweek edition of Grumpy Old Spurs with myself and Davo. How are you, Dave? All right, mate?
I'm grumpy. How are you?
Oh, very grumpy. That's what Spurs makes you, doesn't it, mate? Look, little bit of
What?
housekeeping before we start, Dave. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at Lads It's Tottenham. And, if you're going to take what people say on these pods and, YouTube videos too seriously, this ain't the place for you. This is just a couple of blokes having a chat about Spurs, taking the mick, all a bit light-hearted, moaning a bit, but, it ain't really the end of the world. And just having a fun evening, moaning, ain't we, Dave? That's what we're all about.
That is what we're all about. I've known to be grumpy for ever since I was a child. And a very old friend of mine once got me this grumpy thing. And fittingly enough, it's got a medal on, which we're all lacking from not winning trophies. So there we go. And we're just going to have a bit of a laugh at this. I appreciate it. There are some YouTube shows that might have 15 grumpy old men being grumpy about various things, but there's just a few of us, and we're going to be grumpy in a light-hearted way. Absolutely. Now, before we get into the grumpiness, we'll just do a couple of points just to kick off with, just a bit on a slightly more serious note. Obviously, we haven't done a show yet since the news came through that very sadly Gary Brooke passed away recently. And as a grumpy old Tottenham fan, my time goes back to when Gary made his debut for the club on Boxing Day 1980. That was in a 4-4 draw, and Gary got 2 goals. Gary had an explosive right shot on him, and he's one of those players who, when he made his debut, you got really excited about. This is, you'd like to see players coming through the club ranks. He won cup medals as part of the squad for 81 and 82. He played in the earlier rounds of the UEFA Cup win that we got. If you watch old footage of that famous Hoddle goal when he chipped Sherwood, it was his assist that played into him that let Hoddle do the turn and chip Sherwood. He unfortunately, his Tottenham career was really impacted by a very serious car crash that he was in 1983. Look, it's very sad news that he's passed away at a relatively young age. So we send our condolences to his family and friends. And just very quickly before we get into it, on a happier story, it's great to see one of our own, Emily Damari, released after 14 months held hostage. And it was a campaign that was launched by other people, other fans of Tottenham, and even Tottenham and Arsenal fans got together before the North London derby. So that's really nice to see as well. Now, let's, as in the words of our friend Daniel, we've got to get through this, Gibbo. So we've got to get through this, and his sister Natasha. So where do you want to start in our grumpiness today?
Well, Everton. What do you think to that? I don't think we've spoke since the Everton game, have we? So let's get it out in the open. I mean, my point was, mate, that first half was, I don't even think we were that bad under Jose or Stellini, maybe, but definitely not under Con. I've not seen this. I thought we were inept, really inept. Players on the pitch and the setup and everything. It was atrocious, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into possibly later on, is this as bad as it gets, right? But we'll get onto that later on. But I did think that when we were playing we've decided with our manager, who's decided that's the way we are, mate, that we're not going to change, and that he, in a time where he's got very little time with them on the training ground because these games are coming through thick and fast, that he elects to play a sweeper system with wing backs when at the end of the against a team whose manager is having his return to Everton after however many years away. So they're going to be really up for it. And I just thought that the goals really reminded me of just calamity between those 3 central defenders. They didn't know where they were meant to be and what they were meant to be doing. And if you look at those 3 defenders, You've got Daddy Davis, which I hate that nickname. I think whoever came up with that, and I've seen the clip, it just looks dodgy. All right. Him who's just back from being out of a hammy. That's number one. You've got Dragusin or Dragushin, who people forget he's still only like 23. He's still having his first full season in the Premier League. And you've got Archie Gray, who's 18 years old. Now, ironically, I think Archie Gray has got the makings of being a really good sweeper.
Yeah.
I think he would be fantastic as a sweeper. But he's 18 years old. He's now got, I think, was he the one who played the sweeper role? But
no, people don't. Yeah, people don't play with sweepers really anymore, though, do they?
They don't.
That's back to your time. We're going to watch Gary Brooks stuff, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But I see Archie Gray as like Beckenbauer in the '74 World Cup. You remember that, Gibbo?
Yeah.
And,
well, not quite, mate.
Well, no, do I. I was only 3. But I think it's a bit unfair on the kid, right? Because at the end of the day, it was just now I'd like to see Porro as a wing back.
Yeah, right, mate. So my take on that was that I looked at that team and I thought Porro's going right back, Spence left back, Davis Dragusin centre backs. Like you said, mate, he hasn't got a lot of time on the training ground, so keep it simple, stupid. We're just moving game to game. And then I thought we're short of bodies, so he's going Bergvall, Gray, Maddison in the midfield. No, was it? Did Sarr start? Sorry. So I thought it'd be Sarr, Bergvall, Gray. Just get some legs in there, bit of enthusiasm. Because obviously, you know, under Moyes, Everton are going to, at least run around a bit more than they have been. Then I thought like Madders and Kulusevski supporting Son. Now, on Wednesday, my brother-in-law and father-in-law went to Goodison to what they are Villa fans to watch Villa Everton, Moyes' first home game, and they said to me, before this game, they were like, "They are fucking atrocious, mate. You will beat them, no matter how bad you're playing. They are awful."
And when you were courting Mrs. G, did you realise that she was from a Villa family?
Yeah, well, I started. She was. I think that was the first time I went and spoke to her. I knew she was a Villa fan because I'd seen her with a Villa shirt on, and so I just said, "Oh, you support Villa, don't you?" That was my opening.
Is that your opening chat-up line?
Yeah,
you support Villa, don't you?
Support Villa, don't you? And that was it. We just sort of.
And here we are now. And here we are now.
She had the shirt with Muller on. Muller like yogurts.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that what you looked for in a lady at that time?
Yeah.
Muller like yogurts.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to get into my
no, we don't.
And personal life, but mate, it's just that they went and watched it and they were like, "Yeah, they're a poor side. You'll beat them." And I thought, watch. I don't get me wrong. I mean, they turned up, didn't they, as best as they could? Because even watching it, Dave, I didn't think. I know they were at it first half, Everton, but I didn't think they were very good. When you're watching it and you thought, if we were something near decent here, we'd be back in this. Before we scored the 2, this wouldn't be like this. But it was just awful.
You've gone a bit extreme there already, Gibbo. You said something near decent. I'd almost say something near slightly well organised.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the right words. Yeah.
I mean, look, the great news is the coach driver got them to the ground on time, so he or she did their role for that day, right?
Yeah.
And they had their boots on and they had their full kit on. I mean, we obviously saw the '87 Cup final; they were wearing the wrong ones, right? So
yeah.
But it was, as I said, the irony is that I think we're better suited to playing a wing back system. I'd like to see Spencer's right wing back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Spencer's good.
Yeah, and as for Reggie, who it would appear that Reggie can only play unless every fullback at all in the club is ill or dead.
And even Ange was a left back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. So, I would have thought that you would have played Reggie at left back, left wing back, and you play
Yeah.
Spencer right wing back, and then you rest. There's this concept called resting Porro, because sure as X, Porro, he's going to be injured next. Him or Kulu. They call it the red zone. I hear it. It's the red zone.
And he's come in for a bit of flack, hasn't he? But I think Porro's a really good player. I think he's arguably one of the best footballers in the team. But yeah, and it's mad to think that Spence couldn't get any minutes before. It's just like, but I thought Spence played really well. I thought he was on the front foot. He tried to make things happen, beating men, getting past. I mean, is there a exception for could you play him as a wide up front? If you
Spence or Porro?
Spence.
No, I'd play Porro, boy. I instead of HG and yours favourite ex-Nottingham Forest player that we have in our ranks.
Oh, well, he's done, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, I'd play Porro.
Finally, some good news.
I'd play Porro. I'd play Porro right up top, and I'd have Spence at right back. That's what I'd do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, can we? And look, we don't. This is. I know we're meant to be grumpy, but I thought that Kulu's goal was a thing of loveliness.
Yes, mate. It was a beautiful chip. It had lovely weight on it, didn't it? But he, great goal, great player. But he'll be the next one to go down, won't he? If we're not careful. I mean, I know we went into the Everton game. If we just had some of these injured players in there, it might have been better. Werner, Johnson. It would have all been okay.
If only Coco Lamella, we kept him on. We'd have been all right. Do you know who I'd like to have seen in Angeball? It's Sissoko. The way that he can control and pass, he'd have been great, don't you reckon?
Yeah. And I think we need somebody with the work rate of Raziak up front. Remember him?
Yeah.
He put the defenders under pressure, didn't he? He got amongst them.
Did you have you read the Spurs in the 90s book yet?
I'm reading it. I'm reading it as we speak, Dave.
Oh, now this is exciting. What season are you up to?
I'm on 92 at the moment.
You're on the 92-93 or the 91-92?
90, because it starts at Christmas 90, doesn't it? They actually start in the 90s, so that would have been 89, 90. No, 91, 92.
So you've got the Peter Shreed comeback season.
Yeah. What? I'm just trying to think. I can't remember the part. I can't remember the last part I got on. 92, obviously, Lineker was about, and
that one. Yeah. So I just want to, on the theme of grumpy Tottenham. Yeah. Just brace yourself. Before I had to break, I'm now up to. I think I'm up to 98. I think we just won the League Cup, right? And there's one more to go to do 99 2000. Before you get to, there's two chapters. That is 96 97 and 97 98. Go for a very, very long walk and then come back and read it, because those two seasons were blood. They are awful. We'll get on to is this as bad as it gets shortly. Yeah. But let me just. I'm nearly at the end of it. It's a really good read. I recommend it to anyone.
Because we lived obviously we're going to come on to it, like you say. Now, I started going. I think my first game would have been the 91-92 season. Yeah, and we lost to Villa at home 5-2. We went 2-0 up. Lineker missed the penalty. Yeah, we lost 5-2. That was my first game at the Lane. Now, we lived it, and the way that some of the stuff I see with Spurs now is very, and I know we say it in jest in a way, very reminiscent. It feels just like back then to me.
Yeah, so it's actually your fault we've not won an FA Cup in 40 odd years, because you started going after we were the cup holders. And we haven't won one since. So thanks a lot.
I can beat that, mate. When I started supporting Spurs was the year we got the FA Cup final against Coventry.
So I went to that, and I'm still psychologically scarred from that cup final. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, Dave, like Everton.
So finishing off Everton.
What are the talking points we got really, like players who play? I mean, Son struggled. Decky was good. Madison just, I don't know, is he playing too far back? But when he gets on the board, he's all right, but he fades. He never finishes a game. Sarr, I like his energy, Dave, but what does he do? He doesn't score. He's not brilliant defensively. And like you said, the back three was just horrible. I mean, Dragusin was that shit they must have asked. I mean, Calvert-Lewin scoring against us. You could have put your mortgage on that, couldn't you?
You could have done.
It was just like, I mean, we got to grips with it second half, changed it back to normal. But yeah, I mean, everybody's probably been saying it, so it sounds like you just copy it. But it splattered us a bit in the end, didn't it? The 2 goals. I thought Kinski had another good game.
He did have a good game. I mean, we've now given him Liverpool at home, Tamworth on the dodgy pitch, Arsenal away, Everton. That poor kid, right? That poor kid. Look, I think on the subject of Sarr, one of his best games this season, I think, was the City away game, because he was the master of breaking up the attack, right? Getting forward quickly on the counter and getting rid, right? If I think back even to his debut under Conte, I honestly thought that when against Milan away, he did a great job of shielding defence. And he also could pass the ball out to the wings. I remember that distinctly. And that seems to have gone from his game, right? Now, I mean, there was talk that he was like under the tutelage of Yaya Toure when he was at the club. And Toure went and he's kind of dipped since then. But I do think there is a player in there. But the problem that he has with everyone else is that surely he is in that red zone as well, because the kid is being played week after week after week, right? And you know, he's in a situation now that that's where we are now. I just want to bring this up here, right? Is that King Hoddle, keep off the sherry, mate? Okay, no one, you know, it's not helping you. Okay, it's just not helping. All right.
Have you been flashing your ass at TalkSport and the Spurs show, Dave?
Are you saying that I'm a bit of a... I call myself a Spurs floater on social media. Yeah,
that's not a good word.
I know it's not a good word. I made my phone-in debut on LBC in 1985, ringing Peter Street. Okay, so I've been ringing up. I always ring up 606, and I've been ringing up TalkSport as well. And you know, I've been on the Spurs show on and off since since Tim Sherwood was the manager. I mean, the Spurs show is the oldest pod that there is. I like the Spurs show. Yeah, it's the godfather of
when they have certain guests.
And yes. When you hear someone that you go, oh God, I know that drone from somewhere, I'm switching off. Yeah, if you're having trouble sleeping, they've even got my top 10 Tottenham on there. So you can have a full hour of me droning on about my Spurs memories, Gibbo. So
they won't have trouble sleeping tonight. 34 people are watching this, mate.
There's 34 people.
Like babies.
34 people are going to sleep very well, and it's my pleasure to help you out on that one. So look, the other thing about Everton, and let's talk about it now. At the end of the day, let's talk about Son and the abuse that he got.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good one.
Now, I've got a view on this, which I will now, let me explain a little bit. So let me give my view on this, right? Now, I had the great pleasure of going to Coventry 2, Tottenham 0 or Tottenham 1 at Highfield Road in October 2000 in the halcyon days of George Graham, Perry, Thatcher, Leonardson. In the weekend before, I had the great pleasure of seeing AC Milan versus Juventus at the San Siro, which had David Shevchenko. It was, pardon the pun, the equivalent of going to footballing opera. It was 2-2 and one of the greatest games of football I've ever seen. And the following weekend, we drive up the M1 to Coventry, and no offence to Coventry or anything like that, and we just moaned the whole way up. And then we lost. And at the end of the game, none of the players came over to the corner to applaud. And I, frankly, was shouting that they should come over and applaud us, and maybe not using the nicest language in the world. Now, I looked at, I'm about to start employment shortly, so I was in my spare time looking at this footage over the weekend. And basically, what happened is at the end of the game, the players came over to a certain level from the away fans. Maddison Now, whatever you may say about Maddison disappearing during games, he does the best end of game applause in our squad, even when we've been spanked. That's what we paid 40 million for. So well done, Madders. And then he nicks off to the darts. And then Porro came over as well. So they directly, closely like that. And some of the fans were going, Sonny is the club captain. He should be doing that as well. And then reluctantly, he did that. And yes, people were shouting not very nice words at him and all the rest of it, which I don't agree with at all. And then he does tend to get upset, whether it's the table tennis tournament at the Korean training camp or generally, and Andrew's getting it as well. But I think it's been painted left, right, and centre that the whole crowd were abusing him and this, that, and the other, and he's a legend and he's been with us for 10 years. It's not quite like that.
I mean, we can't keep having this crying off him, can we, Dave? We can't keep having it. I mean, look, the players going to be looking at him and going, he's fucking off again. Do you know what I mean? He's meant to be the captain, like you said. But no, seriously, yeah. I mean, but no, Dave, I mean, you can't condone that. I don't condone that. I hate that. But that is what football fans are like. Not all of them, obviously, but that is the type of environment that you get at a football match, isn't it, Dave? Yeah. Not condoning it. I'm not saying there's no way, like you said, he's been a great player in that, but I don't know, with Sonny, it's a tough watch at the minute, isn't it? He's been brilliant for us over the years. But I think me and you got pouches for it, mate. Was it last season or the season before when we were saying, look, Sonny needs to be the guy now we need to start looking at Sonny being the guy who's on the bench for us, who comes on, who doesn't play as many games. And but as we predicted, they're just flogging a dead horse. Run him into the ground. Oh, we can't get rid of Son. Oh, you can't drop Son. We can't not play Son. We can't be looking past him. He scored this many goals. If you want to be successful in football, mate, you cannot be really sentimental. You can have some sentimentality, but that's all got to be. It's all got to be thrown out the window. That you've got to make good footballing decisions, and I think where Son is regarded, we haven't made the best football decisions around him. I can understand why they made him captain initially, mate, because he's a player that everybody looks up to. He's, you're thinking if he's on top form, he's going to lead by example. But apart from that, he's not, is he? He's not, Dave. He goes missing in games. He doesn't have a lot. Like I said, he shouldn't really take the piss, but he, starts crying at the drop of an hat. It's like he's just not the type of captain we need, is he? And then obviously you can go into another about the other members of the what are they called? The leadership group or whatever, load of old nonsense. But terrible people shouting at him. If that's what they, like King Idol said, if it was, I think it was probably directed at all of them, and he was just the one at that point where they recorded it that got a load of abuse. I bet Ange got called a few choice words, and other players were just probably told just to F off. And then what we have to put up with then, Dave, is the Spurs account putting out the same old fucking tripe of these players. We know we must do better. It's unacceptable. Do you know what I mean?
Can you do that voice again? I like that. Go on, do it.
But you know what I mean. We do, don't we? We get, it's like, shut up. Like, I'm fed up of hearing it. Actions speak louder than words.
Do you know, I think we should try and introduce this to our working lives as well. So I know that you work at NASA, and I'm touch wood about to start employment again. I think that if I make a mistake, I want to go on my company's social media and go and start crying. Yeah. Right? I know I should have put a comma. It's unacceptable that I didn't put a comma at the end of that sentence and then a full stop. And then what we'll do is we'll work together harder on this, right? It's different. So I think the thing with Son is this, right? So a couple of things about this. One, I don't know what it is. In the last 2 years, you know, do you remember the Hello Magazine curse? If you get married in Hello Magazine, you get divorced 2 minutes later.
No, I don't.
Right?
Didn't know there was a curse.
You're a big. I know.
An issue.
Well, me and you can't talking about Hello Magazine, right? So if you look at the left up top position in the last 2 seasons, right? Manor Solomon got injured. Perisic, my favourite. I have to mention him every show. I'm contractually obliged. Out for the season, yeah. Odegaard done. Timo Werner is Timo Werner,
yeah.
Right. Even Mikey Moore's been out with his virus, and then you've had there's 5 players who could play up top there on the left hand side have all been out for a very long time. Sonny's been run into the ground. You know, obviously he plays for Korea. He's the club. He's the country captain. He goes and plays all the time. But he's not like Romero, who views us as kind of getting fit for Argentina. Son is passionate about for us as he is for Tottenham, right?
Yeah.
And it is the classic. We've run him into the ground like we did with Delhi, like we did with Ericsson, Kane and all of that. The other thing about Son, if you look at his career, I think his peak bits for me was one. Do you remember when he was semi-final at Champions League and all that around that time when Kane was out of that ankle injury again?
Yeah.
And what I really like is that he was playing up top centrally, but it was really under Poch flowing between even, dare I say it, Mora, Delhi, Ericsson, and it was interchanging. It was fast play.
Yeah.
And back one of his peaks was that City away game in the second half. He was brilliant that day, right? And then the other time is obviously when he got the joint golden boot. And because he was playing up top with Decky, he was playing brilliantly that first 6 months. Kane and Son. And Son was getting played in by those through balls from Kane, right? Now, I think Maddison was meant to be doing that, or I thought he was going to be doing that, taking that part of the Kane role. And it's not really happened for him, right? So where Sonny gets, the problems that he gets is he's not very good with his back to their goal.
No.
He's not a central striker in terms of we're away and we need the ball to stay up top for a while. He's no good for that as well. And his finishing, when his confidence is not great, it affects his finishing, right? And he snatches at chances. So he should have scored on the weekend and he didn't, right? And unfortunately, he's a player where if the pace, which is clearly he's lost his pace, goes, he doesn't have much else in his locker to make up for it, right? In terms of captaincy, he's never been a captain for me. I mean, the fact that he goes around cuddling everyone at the training ground, I find slightly bizarre. I mean, again, if you go back to the workplace, if I go around cuddling everyone, I'd be out of a job.
Yeah. I mean, Dave, he's obviously time catches up with everyone, doesn't it? And it's catching up with him. But he was never really massively involved in build-up play and stuff like that, was he? You know, he was always on the end of things, or it was just a little knock through or a pullback to Kane to score or whoever else. And now, because of there's a lot more impetus on him to do something now, isn't there? And whether that is weighing heavily on him, and it's just come at the wrong time. Because Salah, really, when you watch Mo Salah, and he's flying, and they're the same age, but Liverpool are functioning, aren't they? You know, he doesn't do loads and loads and loads in a game, but he just gives you those big moments, bit like Sonny did at his peak. But I think I think it's just a perfect storm with Son of, like I said, expecting too much, played too much, time catching up with him. Just
too much cuddling, too much
cuddling, too much crying. He's dehydrated.
If he did less cuddling and crying, we'd be all right. We wouldn't be in the mess that we're in.
Yeah. But so I mean, you know, that's it now, isn't it? Son, the game we lost 3-2. I feel that I just felt like the scoreline flattered us. And you just come away from that game, didn't you, thinking, can it get any worse? And
if we clipped up, if we turned it into an audio pod, which neither of us as grumpy old men have the skill set to do, I'd call this episode "Too Much Cuddling and Crying." That's what I'd call it. Brilliant. Hang on a second.
let's move on. Let's move on from Everton. We're only joking about the crying and the cuddling, Kerry. It's just obviously
Kerry. I'm a cuddler. I can cuddle.
Oh, okay. I'm not a cuddler.
You're not a cuddler. I can cry. I can cry as well. Either. Well, I can. I mean, I don't cry often, but
no.
There's going to be there could be slightly coming up in the Harris home in a minute of cuddling and crying because I've just realised I've had the last milk left in the whole place, so someone's not getting a cup of tea. It's going to be problematic.
When Mickey died in Rocky 3, I cried. That was sad.
Did you?
Yeah, that was very sad. And when Goose died in Top Gun, 2 of the saddest moments of my life.
Right.
But yeah, okay. I'm not a crier, Dave, and I'm not a cuddler, and I'm sorry. Kerry, this show is just me and Dave being grumpy and just sort of taking the mick, really, aren't we, Dave? But
we are. But Kerry, just to point out to you, I've always been grumpy, but you can be grumpy and cry and cuddle at the same time. I've done it. It's possible.
We're losing viewers now, Dave. Let's move
on. Oh my God. No, better not do that. Right. Hang on a second. We're getting pelters here. Right, let's move on.
What should we get onto next then, Dave? Because we've got transfers, or can it get any worse? Has it ever been any worse? What are you thinking?
Well, we've got 2 great options in front of us. Option A is let's talk about the transfer window activity so far.
Yes.
Or option B is how bad is it? I think we go with. I'll tell you what. Why don't we go with the transfer window? So I've starred a few comments. And so here we go.
Kinski. Before we get into all them, Dave, Kinski. Happy with that? Because obviously we needed a keeper. We got one in. I look at him and I think decent keeper. Vicario probably will be brought back in, but you can actually look at this kid, can't you, and think if he has to come in, he has to come in, and we're not going to worry about him going down in installments like Forster did at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got to be honest with you. I'm not that massively sold on Vicario. All right. Now, I realised I had to eat humble pie for the first 6 months of last season when I did my usual, Levy's not spending the money and didn't get Raya in and we got in this blazer, etc. Yeah. And that's the first mention of Levy tonight. And how many minutes? We're 34 minutes in.
Well, we're going on to the transfer window now, mate, so you'll hammer it, won't you?
Thanks. Anyway, I like a keeper to be calm from the point of view of organising his defence and, getting his defence. I love Ray Clements, rest in peace. Yeah, he made that. All right. Now, when I think of Vicario, I don't think of calm. He's flapping. I think and he's set pieces on the crosses, set pieces, corners, not very good. And I know that everyone's going, wait till we get Mickey and Romero back, then we'll be fine. Ricky from EastEnders, Mickey, Romero, Vicario, they were playing when we lost to Palace. They were playing when we lost to Ipswich, right? And
they're not commanded.
No, they're not. Romero ain't that great in the air. Dan Devine is not great in the air for such a tall player, right? And Vicario, not that great in the air. That's why Dragushin's getting a lot of crap at the moment. I actually think he's good in the air. He's the best one in the air, right? And even, dare I say it, when Davis was playing earlier, when we put him back in, he played all right. Him and Dragushin, don't forget, they played against City away, and they did a great job, right? So I like Kinski. I think I like the way that he's like doing Cruyff's. I mean, he's going to make a mistake with his kicking and his sidestep. It's going to happen, right? But he's 21 years old. Apparently, everyone's going that the Czechs produce great goalkeepers and then cite Peter Cech. And then if you ask them to name any other great Czech goalkeeper. Oh, there we go. There's 2.
Was he Czech?
I don't know. Was he?
I can't remember.
Anyway, his dad or his great-grand was his dad. His dad played in goal for Czechoslovakia.
His dad had the same name, didn't he? His dad got the same name, hasn't he?
Yeah. They tend to.
First name. And the same first name, I think.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
James has put in the comments. Edison makes mistakes. Allison makes mistakes.
Yeah.
All these keepers that play out now and then make mistakes. The better they get, the older they get, the more experience they get, should make less of them. But I think you're right, mate. I think the one thing he definitely has got over Vicario is how calm he is in the box.
Yeah.
He just seems more in control. Whereas, even when, like, if Vicario's telling somebody to stand on the front post, he's pointing everywhere but the front post, isn't he?
Yeah.
Stand on the front post. He's like on the dance floor.
Is that your Czech accent?
Yeah, no, that was Italian. But mate, 22nd, Dave, of January. Shorter bodies, lots of injuries. It's been all over social media. No outfield players in yet.
I don't want to alarm you, but over here it's the 23rd of January.
Okay. Well,
we'll
go with the 22nd. We'll give the board the benefit of the doubt.
We will. So the comments that we've been getting is the transfer. Has this been our greatest transfer window since we haven't signed anyone for a year and a half?
Let me try. Well,
we didn't sign.
We did sign Johnson. That was a bad window. We signed Brennan Johnson, didn't we?
So whatever window we signed Brendan Johnson,
or last January we signed Timo Werner for the first time.
Oh, please don't mention that.
No, mate. I mean, it's obviously it's not as bad as we didn't sign anyone, but it's just like they keep saying about you'd have thought, wouldn't you, that when you've got like a recruitment team, and you're going to need bodies in quick, sharpish because you're having injuries, you'd have thought that they'd have been working on the people they could get to, speaking to intermediaries, whatever they're called, in their agents and stuff. That happens all the time. And the clubs have got to sort of work the deal out, but you'd have thought something would have been near, wouldn't you? Something would have been close. But bizarre. Really bizarre, the position we're in, I find it.
So let me get this right, yeah? We've got in the Tottenham Lodge, we've got this data room, right, where you've got all these bods in their white doctor's coats on their spreadsheets, pulling out the algorithms, right? We've got our network of scouts, we've got Langer, we've got whoever else is knocking around. We've had this concept of a January transfer window that I think has been going back for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And we've gone into this knowing that we have a truckload of injuries. Yeah. We've seen Villa, your beloved Villa, do some business. We've then seen City do some business. I think the Arsenal will now do business because they've got no striker, right? You've got Osimhen. I don't know the technicalities of it. If Osimhen's been loaned out to the Turkish club, can he then be bought this window? Is that allowed? I don't know.
I think it can because they're talking about it, aren't they? They wouldn't be talking about it if he couldn't.
Yeah. Now, I as I said, I've got spare time at the moment, which is coming to an end. I was even looking at the biggest views that we've ever had on the previous incarnation of his YouTube channel, coming in at number 3 and number 4. And I can't believe we ever did this. We did a 6-hour transfer day marathon.
Oh, that was
Remember
before my time. That was before my time, mate.
Yeah, so if we were to do a transfer day marathon this year, I think it'd be 6 minutes. And so,
I remember me and you did one, and we all got ready to do it, didn't we? And we're all like, "Oh, transfer deadline day," and literally nothing happened. I think that was the hardest show we ever had to do, finding something to talk about.
Yeah, I think James was on that as well, and so we had to talk about nothing. Right, but that was to be honest. But you were just kind of a bit of a goal hanger then. That was just a 1 or 2 hour thing. We did a full 6 hours.
Yeah,
John organised it all, and I helped out a little bit. God knows how we did 6 hours of content of talking about something that nothing happened. Unbelievable. But anyway, the fact of the matter is this, and we're not going to go there. I promise you, Gibbo. Do you not find it very, very strange, these sequence of events? One, our owner says, I'm looking for capital and investment into our club. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. 2, the family trust, Joe Lewis moved it from Joe Lewis Trust to Joe Lewis Family Trust. We know why. He was found guilty. He needed to move the assets. Yeah. Our transfer window in the summer left us woefully thin for more games this season, and that is that's a combination of why we're in this mess at the moment, right? We've got a goalkeeper walk through the door, which I understand is the Langer data signing, and so far we're all agreed the kid's done really well, right?
Yeah.
We are going to break more players at this rate. Kulu, Porro, Archie Gray, Dragushin's been playing every bloody game, right? And everyone seems to be walking around on social media and this, that, and the other. By the time of Anfield, by the time of Villa Park, we'll have Romero back, we'll have Dragushin back, we'll have Vicario back. The actual problem that we've really got is going forward and our front line.
Absolutely, mate. And even when we've more or less got everybody fit, I think that is an area that needed improving, but it certainly needs it now. Like we've had lots of injuries, and however you think they've come about, or anybody who's watching thinks they've come about, is up to them. But the more you play players, the more fatigue they get, the more chance they have of getting injuries, because fatigue muscles are more likely to get injured. Like you said, that these players are going down, but it's like we've got 3 absolutely humming teams next, haven't we? And we've got these players coming back, and like Rich is back, and you think to yourself, Ange apparently said earlier, didn't he, that, you know, is there a chance you might not sign anyone? And he's like, well, the team are working really hard. But you think to yourself, can you imagine if they don't get anyone in and they just rely on these players coming back and they just let this ride out? I think that would probably be, for me, the worst. That would be, you know, because I think we've probably been in January before and not signed anyone. But I can't say off the top of my head. But you know, I think that at this very minute, I mean, I'm not, obviously, you know my stance on the manager, but I think that it would just be the most negligent the club could ever have been towards a manager if they do that. Ange in or Ange out.
So whilst we were in the green room preparing for the show and sipping on our cocktails and having our canapes, what were you saying about Ange at the press conference?
Yeah. I mean, I cannot believe that he sort of said, didn't he? Yeah, I haven't got the quotes in front of me, but basically said that there's a chance, but the team are working really hard. And I'm thinking, you're clinging onto your job, rightly or wrongly, whatever you think. He's starting to become under pressure now for whatever reasons. And I'm thinking, why are you not saying, look, I need players. We got to get players in. I want players in. We need players. Why aren't you sending that message to him? You don't have to have a go at the board, or but you can say that if that's what you need. Why is he just towing the party line? What I just don't get it.
I mean, maybe what Ange is waiting for is to be dismissed. And then he's going to take it to an employment tribunal and he's going to go, look what they did to me. And then he's going to get more comp out of them, right? I mean, we're not going down this road. I honestly don't know what is going on with our club at the moment and our ownership from the point of view of we make all this money.
Yeah.
And with the 10th, whatever, the biggest, richest club of the world, or called Tottenham, whatever, right? And we were left short in August, and here we are now, right? And everyone going, we can't do business in January. Well, guess what? Other teams have done that, right? And this time last year, everyone was singing and dancing and getting the old pom-poms out. Levy's won FFP. The strategy's paying off. And how did the strategy manifest itself? Dragushin and Timo Werner on loan. Brilliant, right? The only thing that could be taking place here is that Levy is thinking, I don't want to buy more players for Ange if Ange is not here at the start of the season, right? That's what his thinking might be. But then again, we're meant to be in this new project of we've got a director of football, we've got our spreadsheets, we've got Scott Munn doing his Moby impersonation and not doing much else, and we'll buy the players for the next project manager.
Yeah, because the whole point is, Dave, when you have obviously you've got Munn, you've got Langer and his team, and you've got the manager. the whole point is that you buy players that, for a coach, and you play sort of like, you don't like, so we sort of play, we want to play front foot football, a fairly expansive brand of football. Now, so when you buy those players, so what you do is, whether it's going well or not, you must have some sort of idea, a succession plan of if Ange leaves, who's coming in. So what's meant to happen? It's just meant to be seamless transition, because obviously nobody stays at a club forever. The longer they stay, the more successful you are. Great. So they must know. Look, whether he's having an hard time with it or not, Ange, you're thinking when he does go, this is the list of possible managers we're looking at the minute, because these are the types of players we're bringing in, and they can all work with them. Obviously, a manager will come in and there'll be certain players he doesn't want. That happens, but the majority of the players should be able to play in this style, and it's a seamless transition. So even if they're thinking getting rid of it, if they're getting rid of Ange, there's a player that they think we can bring him in and he should fit the style of football or the type of football we want a manager to play. Then when you get your next manager in, you say, look, this is how when you come to Spurs, this is what we do. We'll obviously have you involved in the process, but these are the players we got. These are what we're looking for. And that's how it's meant to work.
Yeah, but in a club that's run well. Yeah, I agree.
That succession plan should be sort of being looked at and in place, whether Ange is on the verge or not.
So before you're gone.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's how I see it should work.
So before we move on to the next gloomy topic, I want to just bring up this comment, not because it agrees with me, I swear. David Granola is a great name.
Yeah,
that's brilliant, right? So well done, David. That's the name of the night. Well done. And then I also want to bring up someone, not just he says he's following my media career, which I think is a bit sarcasm. I mean, it's a really good point here from King Hoddle. I worry about our midfield. Let's get into this for a minute. That's all right, Gibbo. This is a good one, right? So the King, he's worried about our midfield. We were worried about everything, but Sarr regressing, we've covered that. Biss, where are you on Biss these days, Gibbo?
I was made up when we signed Bissouma. Mate, he's regressed, hasn't he? From the player we thought we were getting. I don't know why that is. I watched him at Brighton, but obviously you didn't watch him under as much scrutiny as you do for your own team. But I really liked the player I thought we were getting. Are we playing him right? At times now, I feel like even when he does play well, he gets a bit of the old Pierre-Emile Højbjerg treatment. I'm just saying he does though, Dave, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like I never minded Højbjerg. I never thought I never claimed he was a world beater, but you sort of knew what you were getting from him, and he'd have some stinkers, but other times he'd play really well and sort of not get any praise for it. And I think Bissouma's a little bit like that. Maddison.
Could I just interject for a minute there? So there's a couple of things that we really agree on, Gibbo, such as Sonny, and I think we're at Brennan Johnson. But where we do disagree on is the music of Ocean Colour Scene and Højbjerg, because I never liked Captain Flappy Hands, right? And I wasn't upset when he left. Maybe I should give my view on Biss for a minute, but me and you totally agree on Biss. Like when we signed him, the old-fashioned signing, we didn't know anything about it, and then it was announced. And I like the fact we bought a ready-to-go, experienced Premier League player. We did the deal done. Mates of mine at Brighton were absolutely gutted that he went to us and thought we got him from an absolute steal. And so for Biss, all I would say about him is that he is consistently inconsistent and he's not to be trusted. So let's move on to Maddison.
Maddison, for me, another one, he's not, we just don't seem to have got the player that I thought we were getting. I'm not saying I never thought he was peak Eriksen levels, but I thought he was more Eriksen than he's been. And when we signed him, my father-in-law, he was like, he's a show pony. I wouldn't want him at my club. He's a show pony. And I was like, no, he's not. He's a good player. And now I wouldn't. I really don't want to say to him, but I do look at him and I think he is a bit of a show pony, isn't he? You know, all the theatrics with his hands when he gets tackled, or he's pointing to people, or at the referee when he's been fouled and he's giving it the old hand gestures and looking up at the heavens and all that. So, yeah, good player on his day. He's been a bit underwhelming for me at Spurs, and I don't know if that's all on him, or I think there's something not quite right with him and Ange, or there definitely can't be something wrong with his fitness. He never finishes a game. Bergvall, good player.
Wait, sorry, if you don't mind, Gibbo, I'll come in each one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Maddison, I said about Maddison after the home North London derby, he's that kind of bloke that you work with who comes in every day. And you see him, he's very visual, very visible, this, that, and the other. And then at the end of the day, you go, actually, what does he actually do?
Yeah.
Right? And the first 10 games, I was very excited about Maddison last season. I thought he's a proper Tottenham signing. He's creative. He's skillful. He reminded me, even like North London derby away, he had a great game that last season. He reminded me a little bit of Mickey Hazard. He did take on a man, he beat them. And he put in he played really well. His best game of the season this season was City away when he had Biss and Sarr behind him, right? Yeah. And he had Kulu on the right, But he is someone who I think I'm not saying he's David Bentley. He's not as bad as David Bentley was for us. But he is someone there you go. He's one of those, when you buy them, and I'm arguing for the ready-to-go players and things like that. We got him for 40 million. Leicester were going down. They had to sell, right? And what were his options, really? I think it was Newcastle or us. And he came to us. And Newcastle decided to go with the player who ended up, who's been accused of gambling, whatever.
Tonali.
So, Tonali, thank you. So I think Maddison's got really good at being ostensibly he's almost as good at Son at being upset and crestfallen about our defeats. He's part of the leadership group. I don't see him ever giving anyone a bollocking or anything like that. So I think if we got an offer from him in the summer, thanks very much.
Yeah,
through this.
Dave, he would have been a good player under someone like Redknapp, wouldn't he?
Yes.
Redknapp would have known when to bring him in, when to take him out, knew what to say to him, knew how to get a tune out of him. He's just one of those players. But we'll go on to the next one. Bergvall and Gray. Gray's tried. Bergvall, I wasn't convinced, first of all, but the last couple of games I've seen a player there. But he's young. He's young. You just got to keep playing him, getting him as many games as possible. I think it's hard to sort of like delve into those two. But I think we can have more of a discussion over Bentancur. Some big injuries. I thought if we could, me and my son were talking about this in the car the other week. We could get prime Bentancur back. You've got a player, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to claim this line as my own. But someone else said, a guy called Theo Delaney does the Spurs show and another pod as well. He said that we have this awful track record of central midfielders who are great, but they get these injuries. Wanyama, Dembele, and it's really sadly beginning to look like Bentancur as well, right?
Yeah.
I remember when Kulu and Bentancur came on that home game, I think it was about Southampton or something, under Conte, and it's their first game. And everyone going, what's this Kulu bloke? He's slow. He looks a bit like Waddle. Yeah. What's that about? But Bentancur, straight away, you saw the quality of his close control, right? And he thought, this is a player, right? And I think with the ACL, Matty Cash and all the rest of it, and now even this season, he's been very unlucky. And I worry about him that he's never going to quite get back to what he was. I definitely have him around in the squad because he offers something different, right? But at the end of the day, that's it. So
can I just say one more? Right, Dave. King Hoddle's right though. So we've got all those midfielders, and then in the summer we were looking at bodies like Conor Gallagher. Right, I think would have been a good, really good player. But I always look at it and go, the engine room in any team really important. And you just and I just think with all these players we're looking at and who we're bringing in, I just wish we would really go. And I know we got caught with Ndombele, but look at it, but just go and get and spend and buy a real top central midfielder. Someone who can. One of our biggest problems is no matter who we play, no matter how it's going, we cannot control football matches. We do not control enough football matches. And that is what I'm looking at. Getting in a player who, an experienced player, it doesn't have to be really old, but, like in sort of at his peak. If
Declan Rice,
like that,
equivalent.
Yeah, an equivalent. We're not going to get Declan. We're not going to pay for Declan.
Clearly, we're not buying Declan Rice.
And I said about Conor Gallagher, but I don't think Conor Gallagher's that player. But there must be players out there who, even like Paulinho before he went to Bayern.
Yes.
I mean, we were never going to get him once Bayern come in. But somebody who can just control the game, knows when to make technical fouls, knows when to tell the people around him to calm down, knows when to just start passing it round and taking it back off players and just taking the sting out of the game. I mean, if the manager doesn't want that type of player, but we are desperate for that. And I'm with King Hoddle. In the midfield, I think we've got lots of players who can play on the periphery around that type of player I've just spoke about.
Yeah, but we've got a whole group of number 8s and maybe 1 or 2 number 10s, right? Now, there is a debate that Ange does not play with a number 6. Our good friend down in Melbourne, Cameron, says he has played with a number 6 before, right? And as I'm old, and I've just finished watching again The Damned United, great film, great book as well.
Yeah.
And when old club then Taylor goes round to him after they got beat by Leeds in the cup. We need an old bloke to come in and tell him what to do and control it. And they got Dave Mackay from Tottenham, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that we've got a...
His legs are gone.
Yeah, exactly. Dave Mackay, he's older than us, right? But what I would like us to buy a bastard, a captain, and someone who basically, in those moments in the game, because it doesn't look like Ange does it on the touchline, bringing them in and giving them a bollocking or telling them what to do. I want a number 6 that is going to help Bergvall. I want a number 6 that's going to help Gray. I've got a number 6 that is going to do it, because Romero is not a leader. I'm sorry, he's not. Nor is Maddison, and nor is Son. Right? I said in the summer what we needed to do was to buy a number 6. I'll live with buying and spending money on a number 6, and we don't have a backup, and we'll have all these number 8s knocking around who can fill in for him when he gets injured, right? But I think I agree, and we're in alignment here. The going forward bit, our front 3 is just not good enough in any way. And I'll excuse Solanke, and I'll excuse Kulu, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, wherever Kulu plays, not good enough. And our midfield needs a number 6 badly. If we're going to carry on doing this bloody inverted wingers business, which I'm not a massive fan of, inverted fullbacks, then you need a number 6. And that's what's happening here. So that's gone.
Just on that, Dave, for me, the back 4, when all those players are fit, all our players, I think we've got a pretty decent back 4. I think the midfield does need changing up. But I do think the front 3 is. I know people say about the front 3, like King Hoddle said there, but I think the front 3 is poor. I think Solanke is really good. Not sure if I class Kulusevski as a front 3 player, but I'd play him up front now because I play him up front over Johnson anyway. But I think we've got issues with, because I know it's tough, but Johnson scores though, gets on the end of things and taps them in. But I think we'd be so much better with a player in that position that can contribute a bit more. And I think the left side is a real concern. Mikey Moore's young. When he came on against Everton, he looked decent, but he's young. He's he needs to sort of gradually get his way in that team. Like I said, I watch Son now, and Son is a bang average Premier League player. His thing was always about him being an elite finisher, and that's what he is. And that we need somebody on that side. We're just not causing teams problems in that area.
we're going to get a lot of hate mail at lads. It's Tottenham Towers after this. This statement that
but we're not
Sonny's a bang average.
But there is, at the moment, that's how he looks. There's a time and a place to play him. I think at the minute, I think that's where he is. But I look at if we're going to strengthen in the transfer market, I'd definitely be looking at the left-sided player.
A lot of activity in the last week of the transfer window for all the players that we've identified.
Well, there'll be lots of on the social medias. There'll be lots of interested, investigated, considering,
monitoring,
yeah, all those buzzwords. But yeah, right then. Finish this section off, Dave.
Yeah.
How many do you think we'll bring in?
Excluding
Kinski, transfer window shuts. Tried really hard. That's a good one. Who do you think we're bringing in?
I reckon we might end up bringing in 2. Yeah, and they could be loanees who are currently starring in a musical in Broadway in New York. There we go.
Yeah, mate, I can live with that. I think 2, but the more and more it gets closer, the less and less cop I think they're going to be. I think we could end up with the likes of like a Fraser Campbell or a
fucking sorry.
Do you know what I mean?
Let's just replay that moment one more time. Berbatov to United, and we get Fraser Campbell. So we had Fraser Campbell, Darren Bent, and Pavlyuchenko. And people wondered why we got 2 points from 8 games and Ramos got the sack.
And mate, what the best thing about that coming towards that transfer window was Tottenham put bids in apparently for Edin Dzeko and Aguero, didn't they? Leading up to the end of the transfer window.
No. Dzeko was, if I remember correctly, that was January 2010, and we put in a 37.5 million offer on the very last day, as if Atletico are going to go, yeah, here's our best striker. We got no time to buy anyone else. But Daniel, would you like us to write you a letter?
I think we put bids in for Negredo, who was doing well in Spain at the time. Dzeko and Aguero, I thought it was. And they all 3 ended up at City at one point after that.
It's the equivalent of me. When's the window shut? February the 2nd or the 3rd, isn't it?
3rd, so I think so. Yeah, 2nd or 3rd.
So what I'm going to do on behalf of lads at Tottenham, on the 3rd of February, I'm going to put in a bid for the Sydney Opera House. Yeah, and see if I can buy it. Okay.
Yeah, do that. Promise you'll do that then.
I will, and if I get it, we'll do our shows from there live.
Right. That's right then, Dave. Transfer window scratched off. It's getting towards that time where us grumpy old men.
Well, you need to
having our Ovaltine nap before we go to bed.
And do you think you might get another chapter of Spurs in the 90s in bed for your bedtime reading with your Ovaltine?
Maybe half a chapter. It depends how much I can stomach.
But, and would you like me to go up the road and be grumpy in Woolworths just to at the supermarket? Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, is this as bad as it gets, Dave?
I am firmly of the belief that this is not as bad as it gets. I'm sorry. I know it's bad. It's not. I've seen a truckload worse. Okay. So I would go with one of the worst ones. I'll give you 2. One was Barnsley away in the league, 98. I got to Barnsley, never been there before, right? And apologies to people who, there's the washing line is over the street between the two. I'm a flash
been
pop
to Barnsley. We lost in the FA Cup.
You went. That's the same season. That's the same season. So that was the replay. You were there just before me. I went up there. We go. So Klinsmann had come back and he was rubbish.
Yes, he was rubbish. To start off with,
right? And we went 1-0 down. And I am living at that time in a dump in Cricklewood, right?
Yeah.
And I'm having literal nightmares that Arsenal are going to win the double and we are going to get relegated. I was waking up in Cricklewood with this, right? We go 1-0 down at Barnsley. The Spurs fans are fighting each other. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good night to whoever's going to bed. right? And we're 1-0 down at Barnsley. Ramon Vega is playing, and he was rubbish. I don't care what he says now. Oh, the fans never understood me. No, mate, you were rubbish. Klinsmann goes off at half time after missing a sitter, and we cheered. And Vega gets sent off in the second half because he rugby tackled someone, and we look better than that. We got a draw, we survived. And the very worst, and we'll not do seasons, we'll do seasons another time.
Yeah.
The following season, Gross's last home game, we signed Tremazzani.
Oh, we couldn't.
Okay, we couldn't buy. So Solskjaer refused. United needed to sell Solskjaer to raise money. He refused to come.
I can remember on the back of my mum had the Daily Express. She used to buy the Express, and on the back it had a picture of a close up of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's face as if he'd like missed a chance, and he was like and the tagline next to it was please don't make me go to Spurs.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
That's right. So Paolo Tremazzani we buy, right?
Yeah, we paid him off to leave. He was that shit. We paid him to leave.
And the man, and then, by the way, anyone else in the comments has got a worse moment or game, chuck them in now very quickly.
I have. I'm going to come on to mine.
Yeah. But then the player that we wanted to buy Andy Hinchcliffe, right?
Yeah.
For 3.5 million, right? And so we lost 3-0 at home that day to Sheffield Wednesday. It was Gross's last game, yeah?
Yeah.
Vega went off at half-time. He was roundly booed. If you think the booing for Sanchez...
Did you go to that, Dave?
I was at that.
Did they wear black and yellow?
I think so, yeah. We
lost Walker playing for them?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. The crowd was as bad at home, awful, right? And that night, I went to a stag night at Walthamstow Dog Tracks, and the groom and his brother and the whole minibus full of gooners who had just won the league double. That, my friend, is as bad as it gets. Over to you.
So, obviously, the ending of mine won't get as bad as it gets, but Ozzy Ardiles, I went to the Notts County in the cup game.
Oh,
but this is the last time I've ever done this. Me and my mate, we just turned up on the day. We said we're going, and we sat in the Notts County end.
Ooh.
And I don't think I've ever been at a game where we were so bad. That was horrendous. Tony Garner and Gary McSwegan scored for them.
Bloody hell, there's the names.
That was proper end of day stuff. I mean, that was really, really bad. So, is it as bad as that at the minute?
No.
I'm trying to think. It's sort of getting there, though, I feel, mate, when I watch it sometimes. But yeah, we've seen some bad days. I mean, in the 90s, when we were playing like Rory Allen and Neil Fenn and the likes of that.
I was at that cup game when I went to that. Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen, like, I used to obviously, I think my last season ticket was in about 2004. But like,
the City Cup game that season.
Oh, I was there for that.
That's bad. That was.
Yeah, that was bad. But we started off all right, didn't we? That was under Pleat, wasn't it? But like, so I've seen some horrendous games. Like I said, the first game I went to, terrible. I've been to, like, you went to Coventry. I've been to Coventry and Sinnersloos. But just, yeah. Are we there? I feel like it's getting there, Dave. I do. Watching Spurs at the minute and seeing what's going on, I feel like we're heading back to those times. I know we probably won't be there. Well, touch wood, we won't be there as long. But yeah, I sort of watch it and think, this is vaguely familiar.
Okay, we need to
objective achieve. Get in there.
Okay, so we need to end on a slightly more positive note.
We've got the worst team in Europe tomorrow. We've got the worst team.
Okay, so very quickly, who are we going to play against Hoffenheim? Who's going to be in the team?
Parks, Thomas.
I've got Sean, the security guard at the training ground. He's in. And you remember Eric Dyer's allotment that he had at the ground? I'd put Eric Dyer's allotment left up top. play the allotment. They won't notice.
Mate, I think so. Kinski will be in goal. Well,
No, he's not.
Play?
No,
he
can't. No. And
what
happened? What has happened to Fraser Forster, by the way?
I don't know.
He is like serious. Remember the Poseidon adventure when they like one by one they disappear off and they go and you can't shirt. Yeah, he's done the Poseidon. Where's he gone,
mate?
I thought he was sick.
I think we're that bad. Some of these players are feigning injury, but you got Austin will be in the sticks, won't he?
Experienced player, 26 years old. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Gray, Dragusin, Porro.
Well, we've got.
You can't have Reggie and Spence. Davis is back, isn't he?
He's done our job for us again.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So, but you got to. So, who are we looking in the middle of? Yeah, Bentancur, Moore, Richie, Kulu. Yeah, there ain't a lot else happening by those players. If they're just put them in an hat, draw it out. Where you come out, you play.
Well, hang on a minute. King Hoddle's going to get some hate mail at King Hoddle Towers. He hasn't got Sonny starting. Look at that.
Giving him a rest, then he.
But you see, King Hoddle, he's put Kulu and Porro are in the red zone. Yeah?
Yeah.
He's got them playing. And
Son on the bench to come and save it.
Son on the bench to come and save it. And then, good question from Kerry. You're very familiar with the concussion protocols. Where can he play or not, Bentancur?
Yeah, I think he is back tomorrow. I think he's available. So.
And so there we go. Are they all putting in a bit of a sickie here?
I think in modern day football, I do think some players, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're injured, but I think some players might feel a slight twinge and think, I don't fancy this at the minute. I think that's not just at Spurs. I think that happens at a lot of clubs. It's a bit like school days when you want to be at home for the day. You get your mum to write a note, and then you watch a bit of telly, and that's about it. Hoffenheim are poor, aren't they? They're very poor at the moment.
It is going to be an epic battle of European mediocrity at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And
I thought it was at Hoffenheim.
My apologies. Yeah, I only got C in my geography GCSE. Yes,
I think we go out to Hoffenheim and just try and get a result of some sort.
Yes,
beat Leicester at home on Sunday, which will give Ange another 10 games, won't it? Because we'd all be told, "See, I told you, we'll beat Leicester," because he usually gets a result amongst all the mediocrity and shit, and people will be like, "Told you, got to give this guy time. He can do it. Look, he's beat Southampton and Leicester in the last 3 months. They're the only 2 games he's won, but he's proved he can do it."
So it's likely we're going to do. Hopefully, we can do a show next week. And if we've lost to Leicester and Hoffenheim, if people tonight think this is grumpy, I'll be drinking gin at 7 o'clock on the morning. All right.
Yeah, but so let's have a score prediction for tomorrow before we go. Then, Dave.
I am predicting 2-2.
Desmond, I think we will go out there and win 3-1. I don't think we can do anything else bar attack them, Dave, with the players we've got, and they're poor. And we can't keep losing. I mean, but then again, I mean, how many bad away European performances have we seen over the years?
Yeah, Kaiserslautern.
We've seen some, but we've got.
Just a reminder: 3-1.
Yeah.
Who's providing that magic, Gibbo? Come on.
I think Richie, obviously coming back. I think.
Did you enjoy the lap of honour at Goodison on the weekend? Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, mate. I think we got to rely. We're going to rely on him now, isn't there? Because talk of Solanke being out till March time. So
yeah, and with his injury record, I'm confident with his injury record he'll be playing all the way through to May. Yeah.
Can you imagine if he pulls up tomorrow night?
It's not unknown. He came on as a sub and did his hammy. Remember?
Yeah, set up a goal and had to be put. Yeah,
that's
against
right.
Villa.
So you're going Richie hat-trick?
No, I think Richie might get a couple of goals, and I'm gonna say Porro.
Right, in the red zone, he's going to score.
In the red zone, Porro.
Right. Okay. I reckon I'd like to see, Richie. I'd love to see another little dinky chip from Kulu. That was beautiful on the wing. It really was. And I really like Mikey Moore. Dudley Moore. I really liked him in his cross on the weekend. I liked him to get a goal. Was he wearing shin pads or was his socks kind of rolled down? He looked proper old-fashioned Tony Galvin.
Yeah,
on the weekend.
He's got very, very small shin pads, hasn't he?
He is. Congratulations. We can finish off on this bombshell. Mickey Moore, small shin pads.
Yeah. Look, I think we've probably depressed people enough now, Dave. So
our job is done.
Our job is done. I think, obviously, mate, we're gonna try and bring this joy to everybody once a week if we can, aren't we? That's our plan,
Yeah, we might be a bit sporadic in our timings and things like that, but we'll let everyone know as early as we can, and we can. But the thing is, this is just an hour of miserable content gold. It's not time specific. You can watch it between now and the next 5 to 10 years to get you to sleep. You'll be fine.
But like we said before, it's all light-hearted. There's some of the things we say. Do we really mean? We just put a slightly different take on it, don't we, Dave? And
we do. We are against crying and cuddling tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And crying and cuddling's the biggest one tonight. But thanks everybody for joining. We hope you've been happy wallowing in our misery, and we will. There'll be a show back on Friday, but I don't think I think it will probably be Caller with his band of merry men, giving his positive vibes about the 2-2 draw in Hoffenheim. And
yes,
me and you can come back on next week and give our, let's see what happens at Leicester. But the only guests we will be having on here are people who can share in our misery. Do you not think, Dave?
I used to play football on a Monday night at the Power League, Fry and Barnet, right? Me and my brother started this game, and the requisite was you had to be crap at playing football, right?
Yeah.
So it applies to here. If there's any outbreak of 5 to 10 minutes of optimism and positivity displayed by anyone who comes on the show, we'll kick them out.
Yeah. But obviously, Dave, as we always say, we might moan about them, but we love them. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.